Hello, I am Sadie Miller and I play Sarah Jane Smith for Big Finish. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Larry, it's Fraser. And you use, they all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from?
What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, the podcast that explores that amazing world of Doctor Who collecting and all kinds of Doctor Who merchandise. Sometimes we just talk about the show. It's a great place to do that. Brought to you in part by Forbidden Planet and Bags Unlimited Incorporated. Welcome back. I am Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been a Doctor Who collector now since 1981, which makes it 44 years, getting closer to 45 years. Lots of experience to draw on, and happy to share that with you. Welcome to our 96th episode, celebrating Doctor Who and more. So you could skip past this part if you've heard it before, but just to those who are new, I opened one of the first Doctor Who only stores in Chicago. We served the fans by taking our shop to the various fan clubs around Chicago. We called it Bundles from Britain. One of our stops was extremely successful. The Many Companions of Doctor Who in Kelvin Park, Chicago. Not only netted quite a bit in sales, but I gained a partner that changed Doctor Who history in this area forever. And that partner was Gene Smith. If you don't know that name, he is the CEO of Alien Entertainment and the showrunner of Chicago TARDIS today. So there you go. We're mentioned in a wonderful book that is now out of print. Very sad for that. The story, it's a Red, White, and Who, the story of Doctor Who in America. If you could go to ATB Publishing and send a message to reprint this book or give the rights back to the authors so they can reprint it, more people would like to have this book. So there you go. Unfortunately, the link on my page is not going to work to buy this book anymore, so it is out of print. But I want everyone to have one, so please contact Arnold Bloomberg and tell him to reprint it or sell the rights back. Or give the rights back, actually. He didn't have to sell them. He can give them back. Anyway, we are part of the Direction Point Doctor Who Podcast Network. You can find some other great shows at directionpoint.org. And if you happen to be a Doctor Who podcaster or a podcaster that occasionally talks about Doctor Who, you can join the ranks of Time Streams, Police Box in a Junkyard, the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, Traveling the Vortex, and more. And for more information, directionpoint.org. The only podcasts I mention outside of our network on this show, and I definitely would like you to find those and listen. First is the Peter Purvis podcast. Peter was a guest on my show. He's a good friend. He actually mentioned me in his closing remarks at Chicago TARDIS via video because he could not make the Chicago trip. And he does a lot of great discussions with people across the UK and hopefully in America as well. The other one, of course, is the Brandon Peters Show, which covers a lot of different things and occasionally Doctor Who as well. So great guy, good friend. So listen to him as well. Of course, also, speaking of other links to two great resources that you do need to have in your library here, timelash.com, and select the TARDIS library to keep track of your books, your vinyl, your Betamax tapes, all for free. Just sign up for a free account. Thank you, Mr. Dan O'Malley, for keeping that free. If you need to do some deep dive research that doesn't, fit the norm, then you need what's called the Howe's Transcendental Toy Box, which used to be a book, but books get outdated very quickly when you're cataloging. So the best thing you could do is go to the website at doctorwhotoybox.co.uk. I am a contributor to that website. If you're looking for great Doctor Who items at great prices, look no further than DoctorWhoStore.com. That's my friend Gene Smith at Alien Entertainment. They have exactly what you need. And if you live in the Chicago area, the west suburbs, select free store pickup to save on that shipping. And while you're there, look at the incredible selection of fantasy items, Doctor Who items, and other items. Star Trek, Harry Potter, you name it, he's got it. Amazing stuff over the years. Gene and I have been friends for over 44 years, and just an amazing thing. So for information on hours and store locations, go to alienentertainment.com. You can also find some great items at Forbidden Planet, but you don't need to go there. You just need to go to my website, DoctorWhoCollectors.com, click on merchandise links, and shop there because we get a portion of that sale. You don't pay anymore. We just get a portion of what they take in. And don't forget our own eBay store as well. We've got lots of Target books and goodies out there, and all the proceeds, of course, of any of our sales do benefit the podcast. And don't forget our friends at Who North America. They were down there in Canby, Indiana. You can find them at whona.com. That's WHONA.com. And, of course, our friends at the Who Shop in London. And I was so glad to catch up with Alex at Chicago TARDIS. She had the shop there, and it was a lot of fun to talk to her. So be sure if you do order from the Who Shop of London, tell her you heard about it on the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. I don't know if she'll do anything for you, but she has my business card and she knows who I am. So there you go. Thank you. That's thewhoshop.com, by the way. Of course, on our website, in addition to all the podcasts, all 96 episodes are there. We have the complete guide to Doctor Who classic hardcover books. These are the books that were published. From 1964, we do the Muellers, we do the White Lions, and the Alan Wingate, W.H. Allen hardcover books, some with cloth bound dust jackets, some are just laminate bound. But we have the complete information if you're looking for what was printed, what was not printed, especially second printings that become rumors, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But there you go. Just go there at our website. What's going on? Well, wrapping up my convention season will be this April 11th. On Saturday, I will be a guest at Consinity. I've been there for a few years. They took a year off, and I'm back now. That's at the Milwaukee School of Engineering University at the Dirks Building, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. More information, of course, at consinitycon.weebly.com, and I'll have that information on my website. My panel is going to be presenting the evolution of the Dalek in books with artifacts, real actual books, all the way from 64 to the present day. So you might want to check it out. If you are interested in having me present at your convention or festival, please contact me at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to do that. And that's all I'm committed to at the moment. Again, I back to my website for just a moment. So a lot of rumors about those hardcover books, about third printings, second printings. Recently, someone on Facebook contacted me about a second printing of Tomb of the Cybermen. Well, my collector friends jumped into action to confirm that there was no second printing of that book, just a first printing, about 3,000 copies. But the eBay seller in question actually looked up my website and corrected his listing. So we thank him for that. If, by the way, we are wrong and you have an actual book that says second impression with a date on the inside, we would like to know of its existence just to basically irritate or help our fellow collectors who thought they had a full run. So if you have a book, contact me. I would love to share. So what we need is a picture of the cover, the spine, and the inside page where it says second or third impression. So you can send that to drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com, and we will, of course, thank you for your contribution. On today's show, I'm going to be speaking with collector Richard Lloyd. He has a book out and also a great collection. We connected via TikTok. So if you would like to see more of my collecting room and collectibles that I can show you here, check out my TikTok channel. You can find me there, Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, and subscribe. Cost you nothing. I want to thank our patrons who have helped us out on Patreon. If you would like to help us there, you can go to patreon.com/Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. You could also support us at Podbean. We are a Podbean show, so if you go to drwhocollectors.podbean.com, click on the Become a Patron button and support us at any level you feel comfortable. All proceeds help the podcast bills. Our theme song is Who's Doctor Who, composed by Barry Mason and Les Reed, performed by the great Fraser Hines. You can hear this podcast just about anywhere you get yours, including Apple, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and many, many more. We are a Direction Point Network podcast. After this quick break here, we will, of course, have My Time, our main story, and the most outrageous offer. Stay tuned.
Traveling the Vortex.
Are you ready to embark on an epic journey through time and space? Join the thousands of Whovians around the world who've discovered Traveling the Vortex, the ultimate Doctor Who podcast for die-hard fans and curious newcomers alike.
Every week, we dive deep into the Whoniverse, discussing the episodes, theories, and hidden gems. We dissect the Doctor's adventures, share behind-the-scenes stories, and explore the legacy of this iconic show.
Traveling the Vortex brings fans together, fostering a global community of Whovians. Whether you're a fan of classic or new Who, there's something for everyone.
Join us on this incredible journey as we unravel the mysteries of time and space.
Don't miss out. Subscribe to Traveling the Vortex today on your favorite podcast platform.
Traveling the Vortex. Your ticket to adventure awaits.
Traveling the Vortex is a proud member of the Direction Point Podcast Network. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hi, I'm Juliet.
And I'm Nathan.
Experience Doctor Who from the very beginning through a classic fan's eyes.
And through the eyes of a new Who fan.
Reminisce and relive those classic moments with Nathan as he offers fun insight.
Or experience them for the first time with Juliet as she dwells on social issues, history, fashion, and the size of a flashlight.
We're the Time Streams podcast.
Find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
It's my time. And now it's time for My Time on the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Great to be back with you. And let's talk about the wrap-up for Chicago TARDIS. What a great weekend it was. It was just this past weekend at the time of this recording, and it was a lot of fun. It was great. From Friday to even Saturday's snowstorm to Sunday. I was very busy, very booked, and it was great. It was a great time. Friday, I usually on Friday, I have, I set my photographs usually, so with the various artists, but instead I got to have the very first panel of the entire convention. So we did Evolution of the Doctor Who novelization from 1964 to 1975. So basically we covered Doctor Who and the Daleks, why that book got written, all the way up to what inspired the Target novels of the early 70s. So that was kind of fun to do. So I had a pretty good crowd for that, despite it was opposite Good Morning Chicago TARDIS, which is not the official opening ceremony, but it's just the opening warm-up for in the main room. But it was great to be there. And I have a lot of great words for my friend Stephen Warren Hill, who scheduled a very good convention. My schedule was busy, but I like being busy at these things. So anyway, who all did I get to see at Chicago TARDIS? So I've got my photo album handy here, so I'll get to the current section here. First off the bat, Annette Badland. She was in the Christopher Eccleston era as a monster, I believe, and she also was the bartender on Ted Lasso. So that was fun. I also got to meet the wonderful Susan Twist. You know, she was with Shooty in the last episode, and boy, was that she was so friendly. I mean, we talked in the autograph line for like at least 10 minutes, and she just was very interested in what I did. I also met some wonderful folks from Big Finish, including Miles Richardson. He plays Irving Braxiatel. So what a guy, a gentleman, always dressed in a three-piece suit and a tie. I was just impressed. And Sean Caston, I believe his name is. I'm working off my memory here. I don't have notes in front of me. So and of course Jason Haig Ellery. So there we go. And then, of course, my dear friend, Katie Manning, was there. She came in place of my other good friend, Peter Purvis, who sadly has decided that international travel is done. He's dealing with some health things. I don't know too much, and I don't need to share too much about that, but he made a decision that was it for him on international travel. So he was very kind. I'll talk more about that later. But I got to see Katie, and I always get a photo with Katie. I also met the wonderful Steph DeWally, and I'll tell you more about her in just a moment as well. Steph was wonderful. I took a picture with her, introduced myself, who I was. She was extremely friendly in the autograph line, and even more so. Saturday, started off the day on the main stage, and I had a duo here. I had Carol Ann Ford and Katie Manning on the stage. That interview, I did manage to record it off the main board. I have to enhance the audio a bit, but it's pretty clear, so I should be able to put that out as a podcast soon. And that was a lot of fun to talk to the two of them. They're both Doctor Who royalty in my books. Of course, Katie I've known for years. We had one technical glitch on stage, though. The main monitor speaker was switched off. So it made it very difficult for my guests to hear anything. So I was a little disappointed there. But hey, you know what? It happens. It's Chicago TARDIS. Things happen. And then I had, let's see, I attended quite a few panels on Saturday. It was a lot of fun, but the big highlight of Saturday was meeting Christopher Eccleston. His first trip to Chicago, his first Chicago TARDIS, hopefully not his last, but it was so popular. There were over 1,000 people there to see him. And we got through that photo line pretty fast. I was one of the first people in line for that. And it was just in and out, and it was great. And then later that day, we did autographs. So we did the photos in the morning, and then I like to get my photo signed. I didn't want to do much fuss. But anyway, he signed the photo. He was very kind. I said a few good words to him. He thanked me for my kind words, and we moved on. So a genuinely nice guy. Absolutely. Just amazing. And that was how that went. He had to leave early, so we didn't get to see the big interview on the main stage. So we had other things that were going on, but that's okay. We managed to get that all done. And then Sunday was a great day too, because we had our Direction Point Network breakfast in the morning, featuring the entire Police Box in the Junkyard team. That's Eric Olbranson, Assad Keshki, and Matthew Kressel. Tony Witt, the host of the Target Book Club podcast, and Nathan Laws, the host of, I believe it's Time Streams. So there you go. And that was a lot of fun. That was great. And then at 11 o'clock, I was on the main stage with, again, the wonderful Steph DeWally. She was so happy to be interviewed, and she did a great job. Now, my friend Tony interviewed her a day on Friday before, I think. But he did a great job, too. He focused, he got her to tap dance on stage and play the ukulele. So I told her, I'm not going to make you do that. But we did talk a lot about Doctor Who and her part in that, and that was very exciting for me because I loved Anita's character on the program, and I got to spend some time with her, and we decided to keep in touch. So we've written back and forth already. The other person that I ran into that I didn't expect to form a connection with was Roxana Troughton. Now you're hearing that name going, okay, how is that? She is the daughter-in-law of the late Patrick Troughton. She's married to Michael Troughton, who was also a guest there, and I got to catch up with Michael as well. But Roxana and I decided to keep in touch, so that was really nice. She was very kind, and she really does enjoy. She says she enjoys reading what I write online and all that. She follows our podcast, and it's a wonderful thing. I mean, she's basically the daughter-in-law of a great Doctor Who, and I got to meet Patrick back in '84, and I spent 10 minutes with him when he was just being Patrick Troughton before the convention started. Oh, is that fun? So, and then later on Sunday, I had 3 panels in a row. Actually, I did a panel with my friend Dan Murphy on Doctor Who annuals. He did them from 65 all the way to the present day. And I said, well, I told him I would bring the books, and he thought I would bring some books. I brought all the annuals. He was like, oh, you've got that one too. Oh, and that one. Wow. I think it's always nice, instead of looking at pictures on a screen, how about show the real thing? I do that all the time. After that, I had the Doctor Who collecting panel, which was a lot of fun to do. We did toys and games from 64 to the present. That's the last time we're going to do toys and games this year. So all the toys and games have been put back on the shelf. We gave away 2 raffle items. We gave away a copy of Who Me by David J. Howe, which went to a wonderful young woman. And a vinyl edition of Genesis the Daleks, which went to a very happy recipient. Came up and thanked me afterwards. So that was great. I like to do giveaways as much as possible. And then I ended the convention with the evolution of the Dalek in books, which is one I'm going to take with me to Consinity this year in April. So that should be a lot of fun. And they've already got next year's dates set up for that. That's last Thanksgiving weekend in 2026. I did, mention to our friend Gene Smith, who runs the show, and he's my old partner from way back. We go back 40 years. And I said, well, now that you see this is working, so how did this work for you? And he just smiled and said, this was good. So I think we can expect to see more newer Who people at Chicago TARDIS, as well as maybe some people that were a little too out of the price range before, because he knows he can bring the people there to do it. And I think all the people that went to Chicago TARDIS for Christopher Eccleston, and that it worked out and that you got to do it, it was great. I also want to thank all my TikTok followers. And if you haven't found me on TikTok, just go to TikTok and type in Doctor Who Collectors Podcast, and you can find me. I do tours of the Who Room in there. And it's been very popular, over 1,400 followers, and growing. I mean, not quite 10K like some of the influencers out there, but hey, I'll take it. And in any case, some of the folks say, I follow you on TikTok. I just wanted to say hello. And it was great to do that. Cal Salzman, who was there with her mom, she's a TARDIS. She restored a TARDIS in her barn in Kansas, and she does a great 13. She's a big star on Doctor Who TikTok. So it was great to see her. And it's also just great to see another 13 there. I also wanted to, give a nice shout out to my friend Katie Haynes. She got married not long ago and moved to the UK. So we wish her happiness. She's been on the show a few times, and I'm pretty sure she'll be back on the show at some point. I also got to spend a little time with Alex from the Who Shop of London. She was at Chicago TARDIS with her booth, managed to pick up a few goodies that only the UK had, and spoke to her about, the fact that we mentioned them on every show. And I said, I called your shop once, and someone said, we're listeners. And she said it was probably Owen, because he's always doing that stuff. So she actually dialed up my show on her phone and said, I'm going to give that a listen on the plane on the way home. So Alex, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Of course, there were lots of great people there. Christopher Jones, the artist, was there, and it's a lot of fun. But that's where we're going, and it's just a wonderful thing. Anyway, that's my time for today. I talked way too much, but we'll catch up on more later. Stay tuned for the main story.
The vervoids are probably the best dirty joke in Doctor Who.
They're hermaphroditic plants.
A lot of plants are.
So there you go. It's based on science.
No, they'll ship anything.
There are probably 11 and handle shippers out there. You just have to drill a hole where his mouth is, and you're all set.
He needs the room. I've seen it in pictures.
I'm not saying you're not a fan. I'm saying you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Doctor Who gives a drunken Doctor Who podcast for the end times.
You are invited on an adventure across all of time and space, in a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson,
Asad Kheshki,
and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point Network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Up there is the scanner, those are the doors, that is a chair with a panda on it. Sheer poetry, dear boy.
And now it's time for our main story here on the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. We love to talk to collectors and listen to collection stories from all over the world. We've had collectors on here from the UK, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Canada, and of course across the United States. But joining me today is Mr. Richard Lloyd, who is from the UK, has a wonderful Doctor Who collection and a great TikTok channel, and he joins me right now. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. For listeners who might not know you yet, how would you describe what you do as a Doctor Who collector?
Oh gosh, I mean, the most recent thing that I've done, the thing where it's kind of culminated, or all these, because I've been collecting for sort of 17, 18 years now. I've just written a book about the character options, the 5.5-inch figure line called Go Figure, published by the Cutaway Comics guys, Randall Books. So that's kind of the big thing that I now sort of tell people, like, oh, that, yeah, my name's on that, and it's. But like prior to that, obviously, I've been collecting, a Doctor Who fan since 2008.
Okay.
And it will come as no surprise that the figures were a part of that even before the book. Probably the main part, really. But the first thing that got me into the show actually was a piece of merchandise. It's an issue of the Doctor Who Adventures children's magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I got one of those just before Series 4 started, and then, yeah, the rest is kind of history from there. I got it every week. I watched the show when it came out. I went and discovered the back catalogue of, initially the first few series of Revive 2, and then later on kind of the classic stuff as well. So the figures are a big part of it, probably the main part, really. But I would definitely consider myself a collector now. You know, to begin with, it was, as a kid, obviously, you just kind of get this stuff, and you, like with the figures, you play with them, keep them in a toy box. And then there kind of came a point where it was like, right, I'm going to get these out of the box, have them on display, make a conscious effort to like go and fill the gaps and stuff, and kind of treat it as a kind of more serious thing, which, yeah, I guess is the thing, really. And particularly these days as well, I love, obviously, kind of having someone who grew up with the Revived series, and that's my kind of my ballpark, really. And I love all the obscure merchandise, things like like the Dalek bubble baths, or flannels, or all that kind of stuff, sweets and chocolates, advent calendars. So I'm always like on Vinted here in the UK and eBay and stuff, kind of looking for obscure stuff like that, and trying to document it as well, because there are older fans, I suppose, like yourself, like David Howe, people, those big names who, Christopher Hill, who have done that for the classic stuff. Your old, Dalek ice lollies or whatever, and your Weetabix promotions, the Thai food tea. Yes. But I feel like, it's time for my generation to really kind of take hold of the newer stuff and document and catalogue that, because it's not really been done properly yet.
I think that's a great thing, and I'm really glad to hear you say that, because, for me, I've been watching the show since 1975, so that ages me quite a bit. And interesting, you mentioned David Howe. That was the previous episode of this podcast. David Howe was with his new book. Yes. This is great. I was really proud of the fact that you got a book out there, and of course we'll get that information on the website underneath here so people can find it.
Thank you. Yeah.
There are those moments when you arrive as a collector and somebody else from the Doctor Who world, or that thing that recognizes you and your work or your achievement or whatnot, and decides to make that part of that. And I know my listeners have heard that, but I don't know if you've heard this story. I'll share mine real quick.
Right.
In fact, speaking of David Howe, I get an email from him out of the blue saying, "Hey, you've got all that Spirit of Light Chicago collectibles, right?" I said, "Yeah, I do, because I was right here. I got them right here." He goes, "Could you take photos of those and send them to me, because we want to use them for a Blu-ray release?" I'm like, "What Blu-ray release?" Well, I didn't know what he was talking about until it arrived in my mailbox.
Ta-da!
And I'm on the bonus disc with my photos of my collection.
Amazing.
So I was like, really? So, the book, this is the first time this has happened for me. So that's,
great. Fantastic.
That was completely, it kind of got me. And of course, I was the first person in the United States to get that copy, because that's a UK Blu-ray. And I took it to the convention where Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred were there, so I had him sign it, and he hadn't seen it yet. So he was all, "Oh, look at this, Sophie, look at this, it's out." Yeah. It's out. I said, "Well, it's not out here." It's not out here, but it's out. It's real, it's happening. So that is super exciting. And going back, and like I said, I was the same way. In 81, when I started collecting, I was 12 years old. And I discovered a comic book store, and they had a Doctor Who wall. And I was like, really? Wow. I didn't know that books existed, because in the United States, none of this stuff came out in the 70s. So it was, it was me figuring out things going backwards. So for you, so you talked about collecting as a young person. So what was the very first collectible you picked up, and did you have any idea it would lead to where you are now?
Well, I suppose really that the first thing, it was that first issue of Doctor Who Adventures that I got.
Right.
I think it was issue 56, and I've still got all of them behind me here, and it's got it had the TARDIS on the cover. It was a great one to start with, actually, because it was just a couple of weeks before Series 4 started, so it was great timing, and even as well. I don't know how this happened. It was kind of coincidental, really, but like it was a really great issue for someone kind of new to the show. But like I say, you had the TARDIS on there. You had like a fact file on the first Doctor. They were like going through doing fact files on each of the Doctors, and it just so happened that I got the issue. My first one was the one about the first Doctor, so I got on at just the right time there. But yeah, it's a story I've told many times. With that, we were just doing our supermarket shop basically as a family. And my dad I was looking at the magazines in the shop, and my dad kind of just pointed to this Doctor Who one and said, "How about that?" You know. So yeah, I definitely didn't have any idea that I would still be here all these years later at the time.
It kind of surprises you as you go forward in life. Absolutely.
But it's just, I mean, with the show and with the collecting and stuff, it's just something that's never left me. Like I sometimes see people who kind of grow older or move away from the show or from the collecting or whatever. But like that's never happened with me. I've kept everything basically.
That's great.
And I've heard other collecting people have sort of been that way as well. So I've got all the receipts. I've got everything. You know.
Wow. Okay.
You know, literally in some cases, but
That's awesome.
Just like I don't know. I suppose it is just that thing of accumulating and. Because I suppose there's a fine line between collecting and hoarding, I guess. And for me, it's like
very, very, very fine line.
Very fine line. I try my best. I'm a very neat person, and so a big part of it as well, and particularly recently, having this room that I'm in at the moment, where all my stuff is like just having everything neat, tidy, accessible, easy to get to for reference and stuff, and protected as well.
Yes.
Because I've had some issues with things like mold in the past. Thankfully, nothing on the collection, but just like it opens your eyes to, oh my god, like I came to a point where I was like, right, no more cardboard boxes. It's going to be plastic boxes all the way now for everything. You know, keeping everything safe and just so you know where it is as well. And then through doing the book Go Figure, obviously that was a huge kind of opportunity to. It made it all worthwhile. It was like I've spent all these years getting all these figures. Now I can actually put it to some use. I can photograph them all, write about them all. I can get that stuff down on the page. So that was a really fulfilling, satisfying moment. And hopefully, as well, going forward, there are going to be more opportunities to do stuff like that as well. Because I've always wanted to be a writer as well, not just about Doctor Who collectibles and figures and stuff. You know, more broadly.
Sure.
But that was a really nice way. I'd have just graduated from university a year or two previously, and that was a really nice intersection between those two things where I was able to kind of put those things together and just get it down the page and make it all feel worthwhile, really.
That's wonderful. No, that your enthusiasm just really bleeds out. That's really great.
Oh, thank you.
I love talking to people like that, and you're right. There are folks that that kind of get to that point where like, yeah, this was fun, but now I need to move on, and they cash out. And but those people help younger collectors, you know, at the same time.
Exactly.
When they do cash out, it's like, and there are some people out there that give me the first right of refusal. Sometimes they'll say, you know, hey, I've got this. Do you want it before I put it out in the world? And I'm like, well, let me take a look. Let me make sure I don't have it already. And then there are people that, you know, I had on the show not long ago the two men that hold the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest Doctor Who collection in the world. They live about 50 miles from me, so they're here in the United States, which is to that is unusual because the bulk of Doctor Who material wasn't produced here, so it was all imported. And that's something that, you know, I always feel sometimes a little jealous of folks in the UK that can walk into a charity shop and find, hey, look what I found. Oh, geez, I just paid a lot of money for that from somebody who probably paid £1 for it and decided to do that. That's something that you can't avoid. But now, of course, every collector has what we call the white whale. It's that piece that you've chased for years and you finally got it. Do you have one of those in your collection?
The one I tend to bring up there would be, going back to the figures, the Vespiform. It's just behind me, actually, above on the top shelf. From the character options figure range, and it was one of the builder figures, for anyone that doesn't know. So you had to get 12, you had to buy 12 figures, each coming with a part of the Vespiform, and then you kind of assemble it yourself. It was one of those. And it's by far the rarest builder figure they did, and it's never been re-released. And part of the reason for that was because the 12 figures in that wave had literally just been released by themselves, like the year before. So they were all re-released figures. So nobody wanted to go and buy them all again just to get the Vespiform, like, spending 7 quid 12 times or whatever it was, And so for many people, that's a really sought after one. And for years, I just had like one part of it that I'd got by accident, really, just once, kind of buying a figure, one of the 12. And it had always kind of sat there like part of the Vespiform's thorax or something, looking really strange because it's just like one tiny part of this thing. So it doesn't kind of make sense. And I suppose that's kind of a common thing with a lot of these things when it comes to collecting, where you see something like that and one day you think to yourself, you know what, I want to complete the set out. I want to get all of them, whatever it be it a separate range of stuff, figures or whatever, or other merchandise, or just this build a figure in this case. I want to get that, have it on the shelf, kind of see how it fits together. I want to have the kind of the enjoyment of doing that. And I was able to do it, thankfully, unfortunately, and amazingly. And it was around about the time of the first lockdown, or during the lockdowns over here in the UK. And it was just perseverance, literally, because I knew, and I have this approach with everything, really. Like, I'm happy to wait, for the right price for something. I'm not one of those people that will, unless it's something really rare, I suppose, or one of a kind. But like, generally speaking, I'm happy to wait for the right price, the right listing. So I would just kind of peruse eBay and other sites and things, and Facebook Marketplace and whatever, and just wait for the right ones. And sometimes it's like one of those things where like you see a job lot. Yes. And the seller doesn't know what they've got, so you find like one of these things, and it's like a bargain, and you think, oh my god, thank God I found that. And so I managed to do it in the end, with the help of a few friends as well who helped me out, getting a few of the pieces, passing them on, and got all 12 parts, put it together, and that was a real moment, like a real kind of like I finally got this thing
That's great.
I've wanted all this time. They need to re-release that, really, because it's so many people want it, and it's
I hope
it's
so.
so hard to get. That'd be nice.
Sometimes we scratch our heads going, who's in the marketing department there that's not thinking, hey, wait a minute, we can make a lot of money on this.
Yes.
It's it was like, I'm trying to think, I don't know if you've ever heard of John Walsh. He did a book on the Doctor Who films, Peter Cushing.
Yes.
But the company that did the books, he also does other films, so it's not just that one. But that book sold out because it's Doctor Who, and then the company was like, "Whoa, okay, we'll do a second run." That sold out, and then they stopped. I'm like, why didn't you do a third run? You would have sold out again. They're like, well, we have other books we need to do, and it's like, but it's like, okay, this is our cash cow. This is what's going to fund our company while we do a book that's going to sell 5 copies. This one, that's how that works. But and I remember you made just to go backwards for a moment when you talked about the fine line between collecting and hoarding.
Yes.
there was an instance where, in my case, I've always been interested in the radio times from the past, and I found a guy who said, look, I just bought a house, and the lady there was a hoarder, and she had radio times going back to the 40s, and he said, do you want any of the ones that I find? I said, yes. And he basically told me, pay me for shipping and I'll send them to you. So that's how I got the Tomb of the Cybermen cover, the Dalek Invasion of Earth cover, the first John Pertwee cover, and stuff like that, and in really good shape because they were stacked, and so they were flat and hardly opened. So and I'm like, that's because that means that somebody who had that behavior was able to help out a collector somewhere down the line. And I think the rest of them went to a secondhand shop in England that were able to sell off the rest of them, because there are people that collect those just for the Radio Times. Of course, Radio Times here nobody knows what it is here. It's like it's like our TV guide basically, and when you get it, you read it for the week and then you toss it, and that's what most of those went. The Radio Times came, the week's over, all right, it's gone. Let's get the next one. Nobody bothered to save it. Now I think, when Doctor Who, of course, represents the most covers of any show in the history of the BBC on that magazine. And I thought, wow, it'd be great if I could, in the USA, get a whole set of those here and be able to, because I go to conventions and I try to educate folks, and it's not like look what I've got. It's like, no, here's what they did, and the marketing.
These things exist.
These exist, and they're out there, and they're sometimes they're pricey, but as far as the whole. The white whale thing, and what you talked about was really brilliant, because I had no idea that there was a set where they had a part that you could put together. That's really cool. And I never went down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole different rabbit hole. And here, of course, I know a lot of people online that keep saying, "Hey, character options, when are you going to start shipping back to the United States?" I said, probably when the tariffs go away, because that's been hitting us hard here. But as far as a white whale, I'll show you my white whale, and I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is the only Target hardcover that was officially done. It was part of a collection called the Target Book Collection, and it came with a magazine.
Oh, was that from the people that made the complete history? Was it like a proof of concept thing? Oh, wow. I've seen a little tiny blurry image of that once before, but I've never seen it in person.
This is one of 7 proofs that was done. And it's a little different. It's not, because Web of Fear was done in hardcover, but never with the Target logo. And it's actually got a reversible dust jacket. So there's another image that you could wrap around. And of course, I took pictures of it before I wrapped it up. But as far as I know, and of course they credit Chris Achilleos for the cover. And the magazine goes deep dive into the book. And the back of the magazine, I don't have it covered, but it says the next issue, the Zarbi. Well, they found out that they would need the number of subscribers would have to pay a fortune, because printing one hardcover book was so expensive that they cut the program right away. So I've only seen one of these for sale in the last 20 years. And it was going for a lot of money.
That's amazing.
And I got one of these in the mail from them to say, could you please take a look at this and see if you want it? I'm like, well, I'm glad I kept it.
Yeah.
So
yes, quite.
It's something that, one day when I do retire, somebody's going to go, "Oh, how do you want for that?" But that's that's part of why we do this. So coming on that white whale thing here. So you do have a very impressive collection. What are some of the pieces that visitors or viewers go, "Wow"?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, because a lot of the people who kind of come into this room are just like visitors. I still have it in a family home, so it's like visitors to the house, basically, who aren't necessarily Doctor Who fans or friends of mine as well, who kind of do appreciate it. But like most of the people are just like my parents' friends or whatever. So they, to be honest, they usually they see the figure display, which is like it's this column that you can see here, and then another one kind of beyond it, and it's like some 6 blocks basically. And they're kind of overwhelmed by that, first of all.
It can be,
because I've got with that, I've basically got like one of every variant on display that I have, and I probably own like 80% of them, give or take. But most of the ones I'm missing are just like minor little variants. So that's kind of there, and it goes all the way from Hartnell right the way through. And it's always nice with that, like, they spot things inevitably that they recognise, like the Daleks or like a particular Doctor, and if they say, "Oh, well, I watched in the 70s or whatever," I can say, "Oh, well, here's Tom Baker, here's John Pertwee," But I think that's the main thing, really. Occasionally, I've had like younger kids in here, and if I'm feeling in the right mood, I kind of let them play with some of my sonic screwdrivers. The remote controlled stuff always goes down well as well, like the Daleks and the K9s. But I suppose the figures are the main one, because people just can't really believe there are that many in one space.
There's a lot. I know. I did a lot of research early in my collecting world as far as the amount of material that was produced from 64 to the end of the first run in 89. More items were created from 2005 to the present day, which is, and of course there were big. Right now, I'm when I do the conventions, I'm doing toys and games from 64 to the present day. That's one of my things that I do. And I told them the big burst was 65 when the Dalek Mania hit. 75 when John Pertwee was at his height of his popularity, and they put out the and Tom Baker coming in, the Dennis Fisher and the games and things all came out there. And then 1983 when the U.S. market exploded. With the Five Doctors, and that, in fact, that Five Doctors Radio Times was the first Radio Times ever shipped over to the United States to be sold here, which really confused the folks at Radio Times. They're like, why are we reprinting 1,000 of these? Because John Nathan Turner said, I need 1,000 to send to the United States. Right. I actually had a Doctor Who store back in '84.
Oh, wow.
So,
no way.
Yeah, it was called Bundles from Britain. I'll show you the catalog here. This was hand-drawn. So
amazing!
And I still have that, and of course the store I sold it to my partner, and he owns I don't know if you've ever been to DoctorWhoStore.com, but
probably
he owns that now.
Is it one of the big American ones, basically?
Yes.
I'm sure I have. Yeah,
he's got the largest Doctor Who store in the country, so it's still going. So I thought, wow, I was surprised for that as well. But we had those Radio Times in our shop, and we sold them at one of the TARDIS 22 convention in Chicago, and they just flew off the shelf because of that artwork that Chris Achilles did. And so in '83 we got access to Doctor Who magazine, or Doctor Who Monthly back then. We got access to Target books for the first time. They kind of snuck in the country in '81 through Lyle Stewart in New York, and they didn't do very well. Then the show got distributed to all these cities, and it was like, boom. So our market added to that up until about 1992. And after this, because the shows were still being, even though it got canceled in '89, the last season of McCoy was kind of being held hostage to our stations here. You had to buy the entire thing to get it. So some stations are like, all right, we want it, so we'll buy the whole thing. We'll, run it. Some stations said, no, too much for us. So, but we were lucky in Chicago. We got that in '92. So we didn't see the final season until '92. And we were like, oh, that's it. But '92 was also when the chess set came out and the Bally pinball game. And so things kind of pushed a little bit to the Doctor Who movie. And then there was a little, not much, but, the two books that came out right then, and the movie on VHS, and the hit in the United States and all that was really huge. Then it died again until 2005. And then, of course, I'm going to be meeting Christopher Eccleston in a couple of weeks. He's coming to Chicago for the very first time. Which gives my next question. So, which Doctor Who actors have you met and interacted with?
Oh, okay. I guess by this point, most of the living Doctors, actually. I think my main ones I haven't met yet, are Ncuti and Matt Smith. Although I'm convinced, actually, that Matt Smith once walked past me in London when he was doing his play. I think it was last year.
Okay.
I was sat in an area called Seven Dials, because of Covent Garden area, not far from this theatre where he was. And I was eating my lunch or something. I did a double take. This guy went past in like a blue beanie hat. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, was that Matt Smith? Obviously kind of knowing that he was in the area as well around that time.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, should I go after him? But I was just kind of too frozen in that moment. I just didn't do anything. And then I think later that week, I then saw his play was starting up, that he was in at the time, The Enemy of the People, I think it was, Ibsen. And there were pictures from the stage door of him with people, and he was wearing that same blue beanie hat, and that was when I knew. Oh my God, I was this close. So Matt Smith, he still eludes me. But the other Doctors, the first one was Colin.
Okay. Great guy.
And it actually was, it was around the time, it was 2017. It was when John Hurt died, actually, that I started to take an interest in actually going to conventions and meeting people, and particularly with the Doctors. I thought I want to kind of go and meet the Doctors while they're still around, as many as I can.
Yes.
So I met like 5, 6, 7, 8 that way. I got Tom Baker's autograph in the post back when he was still doing the stuff on his website.
Right.
Eccleston actually was a really special one for me. Back in 2018 it was. I was towards the end of my time at school, and one of the projects I was doing at school was like a Doctor Who inspired kind of clock art installation thing, and it was like laser cut impressions of each of the Doctor's faces for each of the numbers on the clock. And it was this thing where, like, if you shone a light through, because it was semi-transparent, it would like cast a shadow onto the wall of the Doctor's face, a particular one, and then the whole effect would have like all of the Doctor's faces.
That sounds
as
cool.
Shadows on the wall. Yeah, it was funky. And Eccleston, I'd noticed he was doing this thing over in Manchester, which isn't too far from me. And it was actually around the time, I think it was just a few months before he announced his first convention. It was just at the end of that time when he was still kind of keeping a distance from the show.
Right.
So it was like a really rare opportunity to go and see him. And it wasn't a Doctor Who thing, it was like just a talk about his career. But obviously Doctor Who kind of came into it as well.
Right.
And so I thought, I'm going to take along, I'm going to do a duplicate of Eccleston's or the Ninth Doctor's face, laser cut on acrylic or whatever it was. And take it along and try and get it to him as a gift kind of thing. And so we turned up before the talk, and my parents were like, oh, you should hand that to the box office and then they could maybe get it to him for you. So we did that, and then we kind of went into the talk. He came onto the stage holding the little jiffy bag or whatever that I'd given him the box office to face in. And so from that point on, I was so excited to see what was going to happen there. And then eventually he did his talk, and then there was a Q&A at the end, and I was able to put my hand up and say, oh, I'm the guy that gave you that face. And he answered my question and then did a demonstration of the whole effect with the light and the shadow and stuff. And actually it was really frustrating because from my seat I couldn't actually see the full effect. I could just see like a side profile of him doing this thing with his phone torch and with the face. But it was special nevertheless, and got brought the house down. There was like everyone loved the effect in the audience, and I got a quick photo with him afterwards. But there were quite a lot of people wanting to see him afterwards because, like I say, he hadn't started doing conventions yet, so he was quite in demand. But then after that, actually, of course, the very first Doctor that I ever met was Peter Capaldi.
Oh, yeah.
That was a special one as well. That was back when they were filming Robot of Sherwood. It was back in April 2014. And so I met him kind of just off the set from that episode, because they were filming in this woodland down in Wales, and we were down in Wales to visit the Doctor Experience. Sure. And it was at that time when there was a lot of that kind of public filming, and a lot of people would go along and get photos and stuff. So I was aware that was something that was you could do if
you're in the area, right?
Right place, right time kind of thing. And so that's really special actually as well, because it was when they were filming the scenes with Robin Hood in the Merry Men, kind of in the Merry Men's den area. In this place called Three Bears Cave. And again, it was a bit of a frustrating one because we couldn't actually see the scene that was being filmed because it was in a dip. But we were kind of just off on this bridle way, off to the side, as close as we could get without, trespassing or whatever.
Right.
But we heard a lot of laughter from the Merry Men, like, all this sort of stuff. And we'd see them come and go to and from the set, on their loo breaks or to get food and stuff. So you catch glimpses of Peter there, or Jenna in her red Maid Marian dress, or Tom Riley's Robin Hood, the Merry Men, Friar Tuck going past. Sure. And that was really cool. And eventually we kind of waited there the whole day. And he came out to see people, as many as he could, in the breaks. And we were there right until the end of the day, and I finally got to see him then, and that was really great as well. It was weird because he wasn't we hadn't seen much of him as the Doctor yet by that point. All we'd seen was the regen scene at the end of Time of the Doctor, so we hadn't actually kind of seen him in action yet. But still, to meet Doctor Who in character, in costume and stuff, that was amazing, unforgettable. And then Jodie I met at an event, a kind of fairly local event up here because I'm in Yorkshire myself, and she was doing this charity thing, and that was really nice and quite low key as well. But it's like a charity fundraiser event they were doing somewhere, I think for one of her friends or something, and yeah, like her doctor was a special one for me, so that was really nice to meet her that way.
Oh, definitely.
And, that brings us up to date. I've met Jo Marston a couple of times.
I met her too
as well
she's
on the convention circuit. Yeah, she's good fun, isn't she? Yeah. So I think that's all of them.
Okay, I'll tell you my first story, because the first doctor I ever met was completely by accident. This was in 1984. I was 15 years old. I went to this first big convention in the United States put on by Spirit of Light. So it's at this downtown Chicago hotel. So it's in a really nice area. It's November. It's Thanksgiving weekend here. So I'm by the front window. I'm waiting for my friends to arrive because they were bringing our fan club. One of our members had made a Davros cosplay with a wheelchair and all that. We needed to help get him in. So I'm looking out the window, and then next to me, I hear this voice say, "Wow, what a beautiful city." And I turn my head, and I'm standing next to Patrick Troughton.
Oh, no way.
And I said, excuse me, Mr. Troughton. He goes, "Yes, hi." And he shook my hand and he said, so are you here for the convention? I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, I'm surprised any of you know who I am." I said, "Well, I know who you are. I mean, I've only seen one story." He goes, "Well, which one was that?" I said, "I saw the Crotons." He goes, "Oh, the Crotons. Right. We're going to be doing that in the big room, and I'm doing a Q&A afterwards." I said, "Well, I'll be there." For sure. Course, yeah. And so we had this 5-minute conversation before somebody found him and said, "Oh, Mr. Troughton, we need to go." Nice talking with you. We'll see you. So that was my experience meeting Patrick Troughton. Because he died 3 years later. So it was, I saw him in 84, I saw him in 85, and then I never saw him again. In 85, I was a dealer at the same convention. We had started the shop and we went in there, and it was kind of strange because we still hadn't, like, the convention thing hadn't been standardized yet as far as what was happening. But I was in the dealer's room, and on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, the doors opened, and the first person through the door was John Pertwee.
Whoa.
And he walks up to our table, and he goes, "Look at all this stuff." And he holds up a copy of the Cave Monsters and goes, "I like this one. This is my favorite." And, I shared that with Chris Achilleos years later, and he was like, he never told me that. So that was, but it was just a couple minutes of going back and forth, and we were just kind of with our jaws on the floor, talking to John Pertwee. And he said, "Later on, I've got copies of my book, Moon Boots and Dinner Suits." And I said, So I bought my copy from him, $20, and he signed it. I still have it on the shelf here.
Yeah.
And then after about 15 minutes, somebody comes running in the dealer's room and says, "Mr. Pertwee, your autograph session started without you." "Really? Who's signing my name?" But later that day, actually about 4 o'clock that evening, we were about done. So I was heading back up to the room. I opened the elevator, and in the elevator is John Pertwee in full Wurzel Gummidge costume and voice. "Hello, come into the elevator." He's hitting all the buttons and entertaining people. Some people open the door and went, "I'll get the next one."
Yeah, I'll wait.
I'll wait. I don't know, because there were non-convention people there too. But I was in the elevator, and I remember telling that story. I was on a panel somewhere, and I told that story, and I said, "Now, there was no such thing as cell phones or cameras. I couldn't capture the moment." And somebody at the end of the table said, "I can confirm your story." I says, "Why is that?" "I was in the elevator."
Perfect.
So it's fun when you have those, like Matt Smith walking past you, even though you didn't get to talk to him. I've talked to people who were having a tea outside and saw Tom Baker walk by, and usually it's like, "Hi, thank you so much," and he tips his hat and he continues on because he's 90 plus years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the kind of thing, I met Tom Baker as well back in the day when he was still looking like himself. But it was just, just the whole, the whole interaction. And I've had, I haven't had any doctors on my podcast, but I've had Fraser Hines, I've had Wendy Padbury, Peter Purvis, and folks who have done, I even had Tim Traylor on here, who does John Pertwee.
From Big Finish.
For Big Finish. And he never met John Pertwee. So we had a wonderful conversation, how he discovered, when he was doing a voice on a different show, and Tom Baker heard it and said, "You know what? He sounds like John." and it was just and then there were things like Tom, there was a big group thing, and Tom Baker was in the room, and then John Nathan Turner walked in, and Tom Baker got up and left because they were not getting along at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They later reconciled, but there were so many things that happened in the Chicago conventions. So it's just amazing to me that and we've got one coming up in a couple weeks. We've got Joe Martin, we've got Christopher Eccleston, we've got a lot of good people coming over. So let me ask you, because you're a newer collector, a new age collector. I've been kind of doing this since the 80s, but in your time, how have you seen collecting change?
Oh, how have I seen collecting change?
I mean, from when you started to now. I mean, how the world has kind of, the collecting world. I can tell you, just over 40 years, it has gone berserk and back. But in your shorter time, being younger, and that's a great perspective, because I respect it completely, because I know you're going to be continuing to do this long after I'm not doing this anymore. So how have you seen this in your time?
Oh, I guess I can talk about that. I mean, obviously, I was part of the generation where it did blow up again with like David Tennant, and it kind of seemed like it was everywhere. A lot of exposure kind of the show in shop shelves and stuff and shop displays. So I'm kind of the right age to remember what that was like as a kid. I never saw any of the kind of the big Toys R Us displays that people always talk about.
Oh yeah.
I didn't kind of get to Toys R Us until bit later on. I saw them in the Smith era and the Capaldi when they're a bit smaller. But yeah, I suppose that's the thing really, and how since I've started kind of from that point, it's gradually ever since then, in terms of the interest, it's kind of become more of a niche thing, I suppose, and you see that actually reflected going back to what I was saying earlier about like looking for bargains on eBay and Vinted and stuff. The amount of stuff from those particular years, like 2005 to 10, and a bit afterwards as well with Matt Smith, but kind of Tennant and Smith. The amount of stuff that comes up for sale, where it's people just selling stuff from their childhoods that they don't want, like people who aren't fans anymore or whatever, or having a clear out and they've found this Dalek pencil case or whatever it may be.
Yes.
And sometimes that way you're able to find real bargains and things when people don't know what they've got. But yeah, it seems like from that time there is like an endless amount of stuff almost. Like you kind of wonder how do these things keep coming up? Like how many boxed figures of Laszlo are there or whatever? Because whatever, like you kind of think, they're gonna run out of these eventually. But like you can still go onto eBay without fail and find like all these figures, all these boxed ones still there and whatever. And in charity shops, like you said earlier, there's kind of like an endless supply of stuff, it seems, from that time that kind of keeps cropping up, I suppose, and less so with the more recent stuff. But yeah,
that's true. And of course, there's also the shops that buy in bulk and they keep things sealed, and then they wait 10 years and think, okay, it's still going. Yes. They bring them out, and all of a sudden now they're 4 times the price, and they're making back not just their initial wholesale purchase, but they're making profit upon profit on profit.
Yeah,
and that's where part of one of the I don't know if you've listened to my show before, but one of my segments is the most outrageous offer, which comes right after the interview. And I get these emails from people saying, "Hey, is this Target book really worth $1,000?" And I was saying, "No, it's not." But somebody's trying to.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, somebody tries to put it out there
to make out that it's more valuable than it is.
It is, and of course, it's funny when it's on a list of books where here's the same book now for $5. Here's one for $1,000. I'm like, okay, it's an easy choice. I'm going to pay $5 for that book. I'm not going to pay $1,000. And then sometimes I reach out to the seller and go, "Do you really mean to sell that?" "Oh, maybe that's a mistake," and then it disappears because they're like, "Oh, somebody." And it's like nobody's beaten. I think the highest one we ever had here was a 1989 calendar that somebody was selling for $1 million. And I'm not kidding. It's on my show. You can go back and find it. It's like it's there. I've got screenshots. It's all there. But I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like. And so I sometimes go when I was, I'm one of the crazy people that's trying to get all the hardcovers from the classic era. I don't know if you know about that search, and that's on this wall over here. I'm missing four titles, and it's likely I will not get one of them. That's Loch Ness Monster first printing, because there's a guy on eBay right now selling it for $1,000, and I said not worth $1,000. No. Looking for Three Doctors second print. I've never seen one. Dinosaur Invasion second print. I've never seen one. And a copy of the Time Warrior, which should be out there somewhere, but I haven't seen it. So it's crazy. And then people will come out with some of these and go, "Oh yeah, it's $400 for this book, or $500." I said, "Well, how did you get to that price?" "Well, there aren't any out there." I said, "Well, then why are you going so high? If you want to sell it, bring it down to maybe 200. Maybe somebody will grab it there, and then you kind of set this." Or the I don't know if you're aware of the rumor about the Wheel in Space Target book, where somebody put out there was a fire and all of them were lost.
Yes.
Well, that turns out not to be true, because I talked to somebody who worked there, and he said, and of course, look in any news archive. There's no news. There would have been a news story about a warehouse burning down. I mean, like the Scorpion Automotive Dalek suits; those were destroyed in a fire, and there is a news story. There's newspaper articles to corroborate that.
Yeah.
So it's and of course those books are still $80, $90, because people are putting that out there and getting it, because people believe the rumor. So Doctor Who collecting has been from when I started in 81, where I could go to a local store and buy stuff, to when eBay was invented and people could charge more for stuff. And as I was looking for stuff to import too, which is, when I discovered eBay UK, I'm like, there we go, because not everything on that site populates on the US site.
Sure.
Or the Australian site, which doesn't always populate. Especially if the person doesn't want to sell to the United States. Usually I can talk them into it. But that's usually how that goes. And so I think it's getting more difficult to go back and find the older things, because now people are realizing, hey, this stuff's valuable. And so it's no longer, I got lucky on this one. I got it for just a few dollars. And I've got a few things that I got for a low amount of money, not because I was trying to cheat them, but that's what they put it out for. And I said, well, I'm going to grab it. If it's in, it's how I got the Doctor and the Smugglers hardcover. There were only 1,000 of those printed, because it was the last one. Right. And somebody was selling a lot of books. It was like 7 or 8 or 9 hardcovers for $140. And I said, well, I'm going to buy the whole thing, because I want that one book. And I was able to sell off the others for, I try to keep things reasonable, but we sold off the others, and it brought some money into the show. So that was great. But now I've got a mint copy of that on my shelf. So and people are like, well, how'd you get that? Because one place is selling it for $750. I said, well, I got it from, I bought a lot. I do the same thing with Target books. I have about 400 or so Target books, and they're on this wall up here. So, and I don't, and they don't even all fit. I get to 1982 on this side, and then they overflow, because every printing, every variant, every option. I mean, there were so many, and I thought, so I don't buy those individually anymore, because they're way too much. But if somebody's selling 200 of them, I'll say, hey, you know what? I'll give you this much for each book. Oh, you will? Okay. And then ship it over here, and I can go through them, and then put the ones in the sell bin or whatever. And it's kind of become more of a logical approach to.
Yeah, you have to find ways around, don't you?
You kind of pick what I call picking my battles.
Sure. Yeah.
Do I want to go? And I've pulled out of auctions. I'm like, all right, that's my ceiling. If it goes higher than that, I'm out. And then I think sometimes, and I know this happens, where eBay, they're not supposed to do this, but the eBay seller will have another account and bid on his own auction to kind of push the price up. And if eBay finds out, they'll suspend both accounts. But I couldn't prove it. But this guy put it higher, and I pulled out. And then the auction was closed early and relisted. And I'm like,
right.
Got that.
Suspicious.
David Howe and I have gone back and forth in various. I've had him on here 3 times, and we've gone back over these conspiracies. Because David Howe, of course, orders one of everything. So when things come out, he gets and he gets them directly from the manufacturers now. So he doesn't even go to the store. But I don't know if you've ever been to his museum in Doncaster.
No, I need to. He's I've been in touch with him once or twice. And,
definitely just reach out. He'll welcome you. You know, it's because when I planned my big trip to the UK, he says, "You've got to come up here." I said, "Absolutely, I will." I've got so many people that want to see me, and it's I'm going to have a great time. So, okay, you have a TikTok channel. So what inspired you to start that? Because I joined TikTok earlier this year at the behest of people saying, "Hey, you need to get on there." And I've only been on 6 months. I've got 1,350 followers. I'm like, this is shocking to me. And I thought it was for the young people, but apparently the older people are using it too. So, but tell me about what inspired that.
I mean, even I thought that, to be honest, and I'm not that old, but I kind of thought I'm just a little bit too old for this, because you see all the youngsters on it.
I do.
Well, actually, what came first? So I've for like 11 years now, I've been doing stuff on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. With nearly 10,000 subscribers on.
That's
there.
wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just a case, really, I suppose, of wanting to just experiment and get the creative juices flowing again and try something different. Because I'd been aware of TikTok when it first came out, and thought, oh, that's probably not for me or whatever. And then I started using it as a user, not kind of making stuff, but just kind of consuming the content, so to speak.
Right.
There's stuff on there. Oh, like, I suppose it came up to 2 years ago now, that was. And then there was just a moment, I mean, probably similar time to you, about 6 months ago or so, early this year, when I thought, I'm going to just try this out and give it a proper go, because you see on there, like, how the most ridiculous, mundane stuff can go viral, and it's quite easy to, like, the algorithm, it's quite easy to kind of get stuff seen and find people, and you'd be surprised sometimes, or I don't know, if you put something out there asking a question or whatever, someone will come and answer it, or the algorithm will do its thing. It will kind of put the stuff out to the right people, and people will come and find it and enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was the thing. The thing, really, I suppose I saw that. I've been doing YouTube for a while. I'd seen that the shorts, short form content and the kind of the vertical content. That's the stuff that seems to be doing the best at the moment. Really. And so I saw that as an opportunity. Just really to expand what I've been doing, to try and build an audience over there. To connect with other fans and collectors like yourself as well. I mean, I suppose this is like one of the things that's kind of come out of that as well, which is great. I suppose, and being a collector as well, and always kind of wanting to discover more and find out answers to particular questions, and documenting stuff and cataloguing stuff. It's just good. It's good to be kind of engaged with other collectors and that community and stuff. And you never know what you're going to come across or find, So following other fans and other collectors on there, sometimes see stuff that I haven't seen before or wasn't aware of or whatever. So it kind of it's fulfilling in lots of different ways. But I certainly enjoy the challenge of it, like kind of rising to that challenge of trying to build an audience there and I suppose kind of get people to come and share all this stuff that I've got with the world, and again, it's going to make it worthwhile by doing that. I suppose, really.
I was completely shocked and overwhelmed, because I did go on as a creator to TikTok, and I started doing tours of the collecting areas and stuff, and showing, just showcasing and talking about certain things, and like, whoa, and all of a sudden there was like 100 comments on something, and I was like, and 580 views. I'm like, what is happening here?
Where does this come from? Yeah.
It's like, and then all of a sudden the followers started building, and then people, one of my followers, Tom Coffey, who does his own thing here, found me at a convention. He says, I came to this event because of your TikTok. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Perfect.
So that's what this is all about. And then of course he bought some things for me, and then did a TikTok with those items and talking about, you gotta talk to this guy. So I'm building reputation points.
Yeah, it kind of keeps going, doesn't it? Yeah.
My last TikTok, and I'll just bring this up because I know, I'm not sure if you've seen these Target book gift sets.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they
Not
come
in person. I don't think.
They come with 4 books. This was W.H. Allen's. We've got too many books and we need to sell them, so let's create these gift sets. And
Exactly, yeah.
And in my life, we only were able to get the first Doctor Who gift set in our shops, and then they stopped distributing them. And then somebody told me that, well, there's 9 of them. I'm like, really? So this is the 7th one. And then I just got, and I got it from a guy in Australia, and it just came, it was just the slipcase. I had the books in my collection to put in there, which was nice.
See. Yeah.
But I did the whole set that I have. I'm still missing a couple in the middle, and people were like, "Oh yeah, let me. If I see one, I will, let you know." And it's like that. That's the kind of thing that, and of course the. Some of the direct messages that have come through, and some of the things that are like, what about, or like, what is that behind you? What is this over here? I need more information on that, or tell me about your Big Finish collection in the United States, and what is within reach of you right now. I'm like, oh, this is great. But that's, that's, I guess, yeah. And of course, here in this country, here we go back and forth with the government trying to ban TikTok and reinstating TikTok. And it's kind of a game with that. And, I don't know. So if it goes away, then I move to something else, and that's fine. But that's fine. But it's been of course, that's how I found you. So
exactly.
And your content, and I'm like, wow. And I do follow other collectors, and I'll say, hey, if you ever want to do a show, and some have politely declined, and some have said, yeah, let me see what I can do here. And of course, I try to talk to collectors from all over the world, because the perspectives are so unique from everybody. And yeah, we are kind of a small niche community. I have a few friends out there who are like what I call the super collectors. The guys who are collecting only mint items, and this guy, it's only they're basically spending their fortunes, and the world record. Actually, I had the world record guys in this room, and they were like, "Oh, can I take a picture of that? Because I don't have that." I said, "Wait, you don't have that, and you've got the world record, and I've got something you don't have. That's really cool." I'm like, that's and of course because. I was partners with the guy that owns Doctor Who store. He actually contacted me not long ago. He said, hey, I've got one of these. It was a Doctor Who photo album, and only a few of those were produced in the 80s by BBC Barbara Elder and BBC Enterprises. And I said, I'll take it. What do you think it's worth? He goes, I don't know. I said, I made him an offer, and he goes, all right, I'll take it. And then for me, he will do that. It's like if he's like, I don't know what this is going for, and I'll go, it's for me. Oh, okay, you can pay this. Because I've known him for 40 years, and he knows that. He knows that I'm not going to turn around and try to profit off of it. I said I'm putting it in the collection, and I'm hoping that the collection serves as an educational tool for folks who are like, oh, I've never seen the first. I've got a first Doctor Who annual signed by William Hartnell. So, and I've had it authenticated by 4 different people who've seen him sign stuff, and then the dealer I got it from 35 years ago said he got it from William Russell. So I have no idea. I can't doubt that, because that was the guy was from the UK. It was $60 back then. I said it was not a lot of money. So I said, well, this is great. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it looks like his writing. So it's I don't know if it'll ever be truly authenticated, because all the people that would have known him are not around anymore. And I asked Peter Purvis. He said he's never seen him sign anything, so he couldn't really do that. But it's an interesting thing when I'm talking with different people throughout the world of Doctor Who, and I get like Tim Traylor. He had a Target book collection. Lisa Bowerman from Big Finish, she has a huge Doctor Who collection, and she's actually supposed to be on my show 2 years ago, but she's working like crazy. So I said, don't worry about it. We'll talk when we talk. But she always reaches out and says, I'm so sorry. She always gets back to me, which is great. But it's a wonderful thing. All right, I'm going to ask you just a couple. One more question here. This is a good one. So. This is all hypothetical here, but if your house were to come to some calamity like fire or water, what 3 Doctor Who items, you could only take 3, which 3 would you take with you? It's 3 or you lose your life. So I do this for everybody. So I want.
Yeah. Well, I might take my Vesper form that I mentioned, I suppose, just because of what that means to me. I'd probably reach for as well the autograph that I got from Peter Capaldi that day when I met him.
Good.
That was really special. And what else is special? I mean, is it a cheat to say my own book? Go figure. Little plug there, but yeah, go on then. That can be the third. Yeah.
Listeners, I will be placing information on how to get this book on the site, so don't worry. It's a great question. It's like I try to say, okay, what is,
isn't it?
It is, because like for me, I'm like, do I grab 3 Doctor Who items, or do I grab photo albums for my family and all that stuff? You know what?
Right.
It's like, what will happen?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I do have insurance, so it's that there's that, but still there are things here I could never replace, and or likely never get again. I've got those early hardcovers are not out there, so it's like it's really hard. And so now, what is the strangest, funniest, or most unexpected item in your collection?
I think with that I would probably reach for some of the stuff I was talking about earlier that I've started getting more of just recently. The kind of the more obscure 2005 onwards stuff.
Okay.
There's a couple of contenders there. I've got, and I must stress, actually, with both of these things,
sure.
Neither of them, I didn't get either of them myself at the time. I've acquired them from elsewhere. But I've got some cleaned out Doctor Who Froob wrappers.
Okay.
From when they did the collaboration with Froobs back about 20 years ago. And the person who I got them from assured me that they were all kind of, like cleaned out at the time, because they had yogurt in them, basically. They were like yogurt, you kind of yogurt stick things. You'd squeeze you'd cut off the top and then you'd squeeze them like an ice lolly, I suppose, really, and then kind of suck the yogurt out of them. And they had them with like all sorts of Doctor Who characters on. So that's a really weird one. And I did a TikTok about those actually, which kind of blew up a little bit. I think I used like a viral sound, or it was like it was a trend at the time. But that was really funny. I love kind of sharing stuff like that, because it's like when people kind of go, "How the heck do you have those?" Or like, but then on the similar theme of sticking to the theme of food. Lately, particularly with it being this time of year, and also for a project which is hopefully going to reach fruition in December, I've been going back to collect or find out as much as I can about all of the Doctor Who advent calendars.
Yes, there were a few out there.
Which they made again for the 2005 series, and that was one actually where I reached out to David Howe, because most of the information I could find about them online was on his website, and even then there was some, there were some gaps and things. So I turned to him and was like, is there anything else you know about these beyond what's on the website? And he kind of basically said, not really, So it's been like a bit of a thing with them to try and work stuff out about them. And I've actually, there are 7 that they made, all with chocolate inside, and I've managed to track down 6 of them I've actually got here now in hand, which is crazy. Most of them sealed, and it was even a thing of like, I mean, again, getting really nerdy and niche and into the details and stuff. But I wanted to like find out what was on the back of each of them, because each of them had like some kind of game or feature or quiz on the back.
Yes.
But there wasn't kind of photographic evidence for all of them online. So I've kind of gone back and got them and worked that out now, and have taken fresh photos of them all.
While you're on the subject of chocolate,
yes,
I'm going to grab something that's just a little out of my reach here, but I've had this for a long time, but this is the display box that actually pops open, and all the chocolate bars would have been inside.
Yes,
from Goodies. So it's somebody had rescued this from a bin.
Yes.
But I was like, wow, chocolate flavor candy shapes 1982. So that's chocolates, Doctor Who. I mean, and David Howe, by the way, had one of those with all the chocolates in it, and didn't realize that was a problem, because then the rodents came and chewed through his boxes and ate all his chocolate.
Yes, he said the same thing to me about his advent calendars, actually. He said they were all eaten up by mice. Because with the ones I've got, most of them are still sealed, and there's no visible sign of the chocolate leaking out or anything yet. So I'm kind of thinking to myself,
Keep them in a cool, dry place. That's
yeah.
yeah.
I think I'll just kind of leave them for now. Maybe I'll keep monitoring them, and maybe at some point I'll try and get the chocolate out as neatly as possible while still maintaining the thing.
Right.
But one of the ones, I did get one of the very earliest ones, because I think with the later ones, they added like a piece of foil between the chocolate and the actual, the front of the calendar. But I discovered, because I got one of the early ones with the Cyberman on the front, and I discovered that wasn't the case with the early ones. And so this one turned up, and I'd seen it on Facebook Marketplace, and it turned up, and I hadn't quite realised that the whole of the front of it was basically kind of stained with chocolate, where it had literally just leaked out.
Leaked out of
it was all still inside. There was no foil to kind of keep it behind the foil. So that was one where I have actually kind of, and it was a gross thing to do, really. But I've actually kind of gone into it and removed all the chocolate and neatened it up as best I can.
There were Nestle bars with John Pertwee on the wrappers and stuff like that back in the day, and people have rescued and washed the wrappers for collectors.
Yeah, of course.
And it's one of those problems with food and collecting. It is, isn't it? Yeah, that's a topic for another conversation. But
yes.
Let me wrap up. One final question here. So when you look back on all of this, so what does Doctor Who mean to you personally?
I think, the collecting and the collection has been a big part of it, and like we've been saying, through that I've been able to connect with other people like yourself and other collectors and other fans and stuff, which has just been a really wonderful thing. And obviously it's enabled me to do this book as well, and kind of become a published author, and kind of put all that knowledge to some use. So it's just, really, I suppose, I got into it all those years ago, and it's like a gift that is still giving now, and hopefully will continue to do well into the future as well. It's kind of, I've invested my all into the show, and it's kind of given back to me, which is really nice. Yeah.
All right. Well, tell my listeners where they can get a copy of your book.
Oh, okay. Yes. So it's the website is Roundel I think .co.uk, or something like that. It's the company is the Cutaway Comics guys. It's a kind of a sister thing with them. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the current situation is with the tariffs and the US shipping. That's the only thing.
I'll look into that myself, and I'll make sure that information is out there for everybody.
I think maybe they're working on a solution at the moment. I think they might have suspended shipping to the US, apart from the ones that were originally ordered as part of the campaign.
Most books are exempt. If it's it just depends on what is coming over, and of course it's really more confusing in the UK because Royal Mail doesn't know what's going on either. And that's not, because I've had issues. I've had things come from Big Finish where it was no problem at all, but other things where we got to collect a duty on this, and I have to pay them and all that, and that's that's how that goes. But we'll fish that out before we put that forward. And also tell everybody where they can find you socially.
It's basically just my handle is Stetson Doctor, after the Stetson the Doctor war back in, it was Matt Smith. So that's on TikTok, on Instagram, Twitter, and then YouTube as well. And that's just my name, Richard Lloyd, my channel over there.
And we'll have all those links underneath the show here on the website. Richard, my guest was Richard Lloyd. Richard, thank you for being on the show today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
And listeners, please stay tuned for the most outrageous offer.
We are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations and publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulke, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. Keep collecting.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club Podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Whitt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Allison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast on the Direction Point Podcast Network. Keep collecting.
All my travellings throughout the universe, I have battled against evil, against power-mad conspirators. I should have stayed here. The oldest civilization. Decadent, degenerate, and rotten to the core. Power-mad conspirators, Daleks, Sontarans, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really corrupt.
And now it's time for the most outrageous offer. The most outrageous offer is a Doctor Who item or Doctor Who related item that appears to be priced way beyond what I call crazy. Very popular segment. Had a lot of conversations about this with folks at Chicago TARDIS. And of course, my friend Gene Smith, he does get collectibles from time to time, but he will take a reasonable offer. Usually he offers me first refusal on things, but he and I talk quite a bit about this. Anyway, today we have a Doctor Who book by Gary Russell. It's part of the Missing Adventures called Invasion of the Cat People, featuring the Second Doctor with Ben and Polly. This is an Abe Books sale here from Toscana Books in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of bookstores in Austin, Texas. 5-star review from this particular thing. It's a 95 publication, 1995. Let's see. The shipping is free in the United States, but you can have this wonderful paperback. Let's see. What do they call it in? It's in new condition. Okay, so it's brand new. So you're only going to pay $2,486.78. Okay. Problems I have so far. $2,486.78. First of all, that's an odd amount of money. Why not $2,486, period? It's not from a UK seller, so it's not a conversion. Or maybe it's, if I convert this into pounds, I'm pretty sure it doesn't come out even. I'm not going to. But that's absolutely crazy. So I checked. I've got this book in my collection. I don't remember what I paid for it, but in any case, I found several on the eBay site for $11 and more. In fact, even a proof cover for this book exists, which is pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. But in any case, you can get this book for a lot less money. I mean, I don't see anything even approaching $100 here. So it looks like Cat People, you can have it for anywhere from $11 up to $30, which all sound pretty good to me. 30 is a bit much even. $24.99, $22.95, $28. So there you go. So there's quite a bit here that it just seems to, it doesn't seem to make any sense. Even including on Abe Books here, I've got some books that go for a lot less. Let me see here. Looks like $30, $32, $29. Yeah, you don't have to spend that kind of money. What a crazy deal. So please don't spend that kind of money. Please don't spend that kind of money. If you find a Doctor Who related or otherwise item that seems to be priced just like this one at $2,486 and some change, send me an email at drwhocollectorspodcast@gmail.com with most outrageous offer or MOO in the moo in the subject line, and send me a link and we will check it out. So there we go. So that wraps up the most outrageous offer, and that wraps up the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast for this edition. I want to thank my guest today, Mr. Richard Lloyd from the UK. He's a collector. We had a great conversation in the main story section, and that takes care of that. What's coming up in future episodes? Well, I will have my Chicago TARDIS interviews with Steph Diwali and Carol Ann Ford and Katie Manning processed, hopefully, in time for our new year. And the next episode, of course, will be our Christmas episode. We'll talk about Christmas gifts for the Doctor Who fan or the Doctor Who casual fan, and maybe a hint or guide to those of you that are buying for Doctor Who people. Make sure that you talk to them first. All right. Thanks for listening, and keep collecting.
A Doctor Who Podcast Network.